Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty snap an 8-week winning streak after sharp fall on Friday. 60% of Nifty stock are negative for the week. Real estate and IT stocks declined the most.
Trading in index options specifically close to expiry then starts to resemble a slot machine in a casino, with individuals putting coins into the machine, hoping to hit the jackpot.
Whole-time director at SEBI Anant Narayan signals more actions to curb derivative volumes apart from the steps prescribed in the consultation paper, equates trading on expiry day to a casino machine. The Finance Ministry estimates collections from small savings schemes to fall by 11% this fiscal. Sources say estimates are lower as more investors shift towards equities and mutual funds. Lenders to debt-ridden Reliance Capital warn of action against Hindujas for not complying with tribunal's order and defaulting on payments. IndusInd International Holdings denies claims of a default under resolution plan. The Company Law Appellate Tribunal allows BYJUs to pay BCCI 158 crores by the 9th of August and settle the dispute, sets aside the insolvency proceedings, paving the way for BYJU Ravindran to regain control of the company. Top bureaucrat in Uttar Pradesh calls automobile executives for a meeting after tax incentives to hybrid cars divide the industry. Sources say Hyundai, M&M, Tata Motors and Kia have opposed special treatment. Meanwhile, Maruti, Toyota and Honda have supported the tax waivers for hybrid vehicles. Ola Electric launches its 6,000 crore rupee initial public offer, 35% subscription on day one. The retail portion is fully subscribed. The death toll due to landslides in Kerala's Wayanad crosses 300. Rescue operations continue for the fourth day amidst inclement weather. Around 300 people are still missing. Supreme Court rules that it did not cancel that NEET medical entrance examination for undergraduates as there had been no systemic breach, but observes that the National Testing Agency must avoid flip-flops, directs the centre-appointed expert committee to submit its recommendations on the exam reforms by September 30th, asks the government to take a decision on the revamp by October 30th. The assassination of political leader of Hamas does not help the ceasefire talks, says US President Joe Biden, adding that he had a very direct conversation with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu. Air India suspends flights to Tel Aviv as tensions mount in the region. India's men's hockey team defeats Australia for the first time at the Olympics since 1972, qualifies for the quarterfinals. Two-time medalist Manu Bhaker qualifies for the final of the women's 25-meter pistol event. And the new internship scheme announced in the budget could push India Inc.'s education-centric CSR spending higher. A special report coming up. Well, let's begin with taking a quick look at the day's market action. A sharp fall is what we saw today on Friday, wiping out all the gains clocked this week. With this, the Sensex and Nifty have snapped a winning streak that lasted 8 weeks. The Sensex lost over 880 points. Nifty, meanwhile, lost nearly 300. 60% of Nifty stocks are negative for the week. Real estate and IT stocks declined the most. And well, speaking of the markets, it has been 3 days since SEBI released a consultation paper prescribing stricter rules for derivative trading in a bid to curb the volumes. Now, whole-time member at SEBI Anant Narayan signaled that the regulator is ready to go beyond the consultation paper and take more action if required. Speaking at a FICCI event in Mumbai, Anant Narayan equated F&O trading around expiry day to a casino machine and warned of dire consequences if there is a black swan event.
Trading in index options specifically close to expiry then starts to resemble a slot machine in a casino, with individuals putting coins into the machine, hoping to hit the jackpot. It would be unfair to compare all of equity F&O with a casino and to lose sight of its utility in capital formation. That's not what we are saying. We are talking only about the specific portions of options trading closer to expiry. Even after the current consultation and the final steps that are eventually taken in this regard, we will continue to monitor activity in F&O markets and in a consultative fashion consider fresh steps, both developmental as well as regulatory, as necessary. In addition, both the expert working group for F&O and our secondary market advisory committee will debate other structural issues relating to derivative markets, including ensuring that we are measuring and monitoring risks accurately and ensuring that there is some balance and connect between the underlying cash and derivative markets.
Well, speaking of the market regulator, SEBI chairperson Madhabi Puri-Book promised to cut down the time taken by the regulator to clear IPO applications. Promising to bring down the time, SEBI chief said that they are looking at processing the IPO papers using artificial intelligence.
In the global league tables, India, first of all, ranks number 1 on the total number of IPOs and issuances anywhere in the world, with a very, very significant, number there. It's almost one every trading session. The focus we need to bring to clearing applications for capital raise should be brought to a minimum. Pendency is good because it means that there is more and more activity in the market. But what we track like a hawk is the aging.
And speaking of IPOs, the 6,000 crore rupee issue from Ola Electric opened for subscription today. 35% of the issue has been subscribed so far. The NII portion has been subscribed 20%. The retail portion is already fully subscribed, along with the employee portion, which saw robust demand. And now the government expects its mop-up from small savings schemes to fall by 11% this fiscal. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 that this is because more investors have shifted towards equities and mutual funds. Sapna Das joining us now with more details. Sapna, give us a sense. What are you picking up from your sources?
Well, exactly as you are indicating, basically the expectation at the government end is that the small savings mop-up is likely to start tapering from the current financial year onwards. And if you look at the kind of budget estimates that they have kept, this year's budget estimate at 4.20 lakh odd crores is 50,000 crores lower than last year's budget estimate and around 70,000 crores lower than last year's revised estimates, because last year also the government was not able to meet the small savings target. They missed it by around 20,000 crores. Now the government's takeaway here is very clear that probably over the last few months in particular, they're seeing a significant trend of savers and investors moving towards equities and mutual funds. So, from this line, probably what we are given to understand is that maybe the government is all right with this kind of trend. And they seem to have kind of, accepted the fact that, yes, small savings mop-up is going to taper from this year onwards, and that's why the budget number has been kept lower to that extent. Having said that, there is also an indication that some of the schemes that are done extremely well, for example, if you look at the small savings scheme for the senior citizens, that mopped up over 1,10,000 crores in one financial year, that was FY24. Government is not expecting a repeat performance on that scheme in the current year. Also, the Mahila Saman savings scheme, this is going to sunset naturally March 2025. It has a 2-year period in terms of the coupon locked at 7.5%. Now, the fear here is that if the interest rates start falling, then the government will be exposed to an interest rate risk which they don't want to take. So here also the indication is very clear that beyond March 2025, government will not be looking at extension. So overall, maybe they are, they've come around to the fact that yes, savers and investors are moving towards the markets and mutual funds, which may be all right, and accordingly, small savings collections from here onwards are likely to start tapering off. This is the beginning in the current financial year. Coming years may actually make this trend even clearer.
Right, Sapna, thanks a lot for that. Now on to the earnings corner. Titan missed the expectations on all parameters in the first quarter. Quarterly net profit fell marginally compared to last year, while revenue rose by as much as 8%. The margins of Titan's watches and eyewear business improved sequentially. However, its jewellery business saw margins decline compared to last quarter. Meanwhile, Britannia's net profit missed the expectations despite growing 11% YOY. However, revenue from operations surpassed expectations, surging 6% compared to the same period last year. The management attributed the rise in revenue to high single-digit volume growth. And Reliance Capital's lenders have warned of legal action against Hinduja Group's IndusInd International Holdings. This for failing to comply with NCLT's July 23rd order directing IIHL to deposit 2,750 crore rupees by the 31st of July. Reliance Capital's lenders are owed over 9,800 crore rupees as a part of IIHL's earlier takeover bid for Reliance Capital. Ritu Singh joining us now with more on this ongoing dispute. Ritu.
Well, we may just see the lenders reopen the bidding process for Reliance Capital or take other action against the Hindujas for failing to comply with NCLT's directions on depositing money for the acquisition of Reliance Capital. We've been given to understand from sources that the Committee of Creditors for Reliance Capital has now issued a notice of default to IIHL for not meeting deadlines set by a July 23rd NCLT order, which had directed them to deposit 2,750 crore rupees as the equity component of their total offer in an escrow account no later than July 31st, which is now already passed, and to also submit to the monitoring committee copies of binding executed term sheets for the remainder of the loan amount of 7,300 crores. However, Hindujas had subsequently moved court to seek modifications in this order, stating that there were several pending conditions which would have to be met before they can deposit the money. Now, while the court has yet to rule on Hinduja's plea, the lenders have sent a letter to them warning that the rights and remedies of the COC are reserved in view of the default by Hindujas, and these remedies, according to our banking sources, could include restarting the process, cancelling that letter of intent which was issued to IIHL, and so on. However, IIHL in its statement to us has denied any default, claiming that it has deposited the required sum of 2,750 crores in its own bank account and submitted an affidavit to NCLT showing binding commitment letters and executed term sheets for the 7,300 crores as required. However, lending sources have pointed out to us that the money is not in an escrow account as required, nor have they seen the term sheets for the remainder of the sum just yet. So a delay in this process looks inevitable, and in the worst case, perhaps the entire process for the sale of Reliance Capital may have to be restarted.
Right, Ritu, thanks so much for that. Now, IT major Infosys has been temporarily released of a GST demand of 32,400 crore rupees. This after the Karnataka state tax authorities withdrew the pre-show cause notice it had issued to the firm yesterday. Infosys has said that it has now been directed to respond to the Directorate General of GST Intelligence instead. In other legal news, the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has approved a settlement plan proposed by BYJU to pay 158 crore rupees to the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or the BCCI. The Appellate Tribunal also set aside the insolvency proceedings, paving the way for BYJU Ravindran to regain control of the beleaguered EdTech company. BYJU needs to complete the payment by the 9th of August. Failure to do so will revive the insolvency proceedings. The company has so far paid 50 crore rupees on the 30th of July. It is supposed to pay another 25 crore rupees by the end of the day today and has promised to pay the remaining balance amount of 83 crore rupees by the end of 9th of August. Shifting focus, the top bureaucrat in Uttar Pradesh has called automobile executives for a meeting after tax incentives to hybrid cars divided the industry. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that Hyundai, M&M, Tata Motors and Kia have opposed special treatment. However, Maruti, Toyota and Honda have supported the tax waivers for hybrid vehicles. Parikshit Luthra is joining us now with more details. Parikshit.
Well, this was a move that had strongly divided the Indian automobile industry. The Transport Department had earlier held a meeting with key automakers and they had reviewed the decision, heard their views on it, and there was a thinking that maybe the scheme could also be aligned with the FAME scheme of the government. So currently, it is status quo as far as the UP government hybrid policy goes. There is a tax waiver on hybrid cars. But now the matter has actually reached the table of the top bureaucrat, that is the Chief Secretary's office. He's going to hold a meeting on Sunday because there are sharp divisions. You've got companies like Mahindra & Mahindra, Tata Motors, Hyundai and Kia on one side who are strongly opposing any kind of incentives or special treatment for hybrid vehicles, saying this is not new technology. The Indian industry has been investing heavily in electric vehicles, and this goes against the Indian government's larger vision for electric vehicle transition. On the other, you've got companies like Toyota, Maruti and Honda cars who are saying that a tax waiver on hybrid cars is the right way forward and a welcome step by the UP government. Let's see what decision is taken in the days to come. But earlier, CNBC TV18 had reported that the state government could come up with a clarification, putting a cap on the price range of vehicles which could get this incentive on hybrid cars.
Right, Pariksha, thanks a lot for that. So a split bang in the middle of the auto industry. In international news now, US jobs growth slowed more than expected for the month of July, while the unemployment rate increased to 4.3%. With this, unemployment rate has gone up for the fourth straight month. According to the US Labor Department, non-farm payrolls rose by 114,000 jobs, which was below the estimates. Similarly, in the 12 months through July, wages increased by 3.6%, marking the smallest year-on-year gain since May of 2021. More news from the US. Apple's third quarter revenue growth of 5% was above expectations, but sales worries continued in China, which is one of the largest markets for the iPhone manufacturer. China sales fell by 6.5%, even as India reported a record revenue for yet another quarter. India was among the more than 24 countries where Apple products saw record revenue during this quarter. Apple's India business was not only boosted by the sale of iPhone, but also the sale of the Mac. Apple CFO Lucia Maestri said that the current quarter is also likely to see similar growth as the third quarter. And chipmaker Intel will lay off around 15,000 employees in a bid to cut costs and improve margins. In a memo to employees, Intel CEO said that the move will help achieve its target of saving $10 billion in 2025. The company will also offer an enhanced retirement program and an application program for voluntary departures next week. And coming up on India Business Hour, the new internship scheme announced in the budget could push India Inc.'s education-centric CSR spending higher. A special report coming up. And you can also catch all CNBC TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Now, 4 days after multiple landslides rocked villages in Kerala's Wayanad district, the death toll has crossed 300. The Indian Army, along with disaster response forces from the state and the centre, have been conducting rescue operations for the last 4 days. Inclement weather has been hampering the rescue efforts, with the Met Department predicting heavy rains over the next 2 days. The Indian Army has managed to construct a 190-foot-long Bailey Bridge, establishing connections between villages that were cut off until now. CNN News 18's Neetu filed this report from Wayanad on the devastation and the rescue efforts.
The rescue operations are continuing on the fourth day. This day, there has been access to Mundakai area, which has been the worst affected. The rescue teams have brought in equipments like the Hitachi and the JCB to bring in and search for the remains of the people. This entire area in Mundakai has been completely washed away. It's like an entire village has been washed away. Many people are missing. Relatives are waiting to get news about their loved ones. Now, what the state government is doing is that they are conducting the searches in 6 zones. There are several teams deployed in each of these zones, and they are conducting thorough search. They are hoping that they will be able to find the remains of the people at the earliest, because it will also give in a closure to the family. So on the 4th day also, the search and rescue operations are continuing after the terrible tragedy has hit Wayanad and Kerala.
Well, on to Himachal Pradesh now, where 8 people have died and 45 are still missing after a cloudburst in the districts of Mandi, Shimla and Kullu. Heavy rains have forced authorities to stop rescue operations in some areas of Shimla. 5 cloudbursts in the last 24 hours have triggered flash floods, washing away several buildings, bridges and roads, cutting off several areas. Well, back to the national capital in court corner now. The Supreme Court has ruled that it did not cancel the NEET medical entrance examination for undergraduates for UGs as there had been no systemic breach. But the Apex Court observed that the National Testing Agency must avoid flip-flops. It directed the centre-appointed expert committee to submit its recommendations on exam reforms by September 30th. The Supreme Court has also asked the centre, the government, to take a decision on the revamp by October 30th. And the big international story, 300 days have passed since the Hamas attack against civilians on Israeli soil, and Tel Aviv's retaliation triggered one of the worst conflicts in West Asia in recent times. Over the last 10 months, Israeli army has since conducted multiple strikes in Gaza, Hamas's stronghold, killing over 39,000 Palestinians. The regional conflict can escalate further after Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in Iran this week. While the needle of suspicion points towards Israel, they are yet to take responsibility. Leader of Hezbollah has warned that the conflict with Israel has now entered a new phase after assassination of Haniyeh and a senior commander. US President Joe Biden said that this assassination does not help ceasefire talks. He said that he had a very direct conversation with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu. Well, from the Middle East to South America now, the US State Department said that Nicolas Maduro lost the elections in Venezuela, even as election authorities in the country declared him the winner. US claims overwhelming evidence shows that Maduro's rival Edmundo Gonzalez won the presidential elections. Well, coming back home, the government's latest youth skilling program envisages corporate internships for 1 crore youth over the next 5 years at 55 of India's top companies. The government has taken pains to elaborate that this will be voluntary in nature and count towards participating companies' corporate social responsibility program. CNBC TV 18's Shivani Bajaj reports that a successful program could push India Inc.'s education-centric CSR spending higher. Take a look.
Our government will launch a comprehensive scheme for providing internship opportunities in 500 top companies to 1 crore youth in 5 years. They will gain exposure for 12 months to real-life business environment, varied professions and employment opportunities. An internship allowance of 5,000 per month, 5,000 rupees per month, along with a one-time assistance of 6,000 rupees will be provided. Companies will be expected to bear the training cost and 10% of their internship cost from their CSR funds.
To fund this latest skilling program for the first 2 years, the Finance Minister has allocated 19,000 crore rupees. Phase 1 will involve spending 54,000 rupees per intern per year, with the participating companies contributing 6,000 rupees per intern. But the government is very clear about how corporates should fund this money.
Let's be very clear, none of them is expected to pay any of these people from their bottom line or from their payroll.
But from the CSR
It is
fund.
purely from the CSR perspective.
For corporate India, CSR initiatives focused on education are not new. Indian CSR Report 2022 says companies like Reliance Industries, Tata Consultancy Services, Infosys and Bharti Airtel are among the top contributors towards the cause, collectively spending hundreds of crores annually to support educational initiatives. Even philanthropists like Mindtree co-founder Subrato Bagchi are chipping in their individual capacities to further the cause of education, skilling and research.
Public health became a big thing on our mind, Sushmita's and my mind, because we felt that is a missing link. We are spending huge amounts of money and huge amount of thought is going into building hospitals and building health delivery systems. But you need to also build discourse on public health as a subject by itself.
There are many corporate foundations, even government has a lot of schemes to encourage students to go for graduation, to opt for college education. But of course, in a country like India, any effort that you make, you need a lot many more organizations and lot many more individuals to come in.
Overall CSR commitments have jumped 53% between FY18 and FY22. However, Niti Aayog says that CSR spending towards education initiatives still accounts for just about 30% of total expenditure. It has been arguing for more targeted investments in this area, and the latest push from the government could well move the needle. However, experts add that with millions of students still lacking access to quality education and youth unemployment due to lack of skills proving to be a pain point, getting this program off the ground quickly and efficiently would be crucial. In New Delhi, this is Shivani Bazaz.
Well, news now from Paris. The Indian men's hockey team defeated Australia in an Olympic match after 52 long years. In the men in blue beat the Tokyo silver medalists 3-2 in their pool match. India has already confirmed their berth in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Manu Bhaker, who has already won 2 medals in Paris, has qualified for the finals of the women's 25-meter pistol event. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.